Hi, and welcome to the next episode of OTTB on Tap. I'm Neve.
And I'm Emily. Hey, Neve, what's on tap today?
Today we're going to be talking with Lauren Garrett-Bond and learn about the beginning of her journey to the RRP Makeover 2024.
That's great. And for those just joining us, we have a new series where we will be chronicling the progress of 4 trainers as they prepare their off-track thoroughbreds for the Retired Racehorse Makeover, which takes place October 9th through 12th, 2024 in Lexington, Kentucky.
If you're just catching up, you can listen to episode 14 to have a brief intro of the 4 participating riders that are collaborating with us. And for those of you that don't know, the Retired Racehorse Project is a 501c3 charitable organization created the Thoroughbred Makeover to showcase the trainability and talent of off-the-track thoroughbreds. The competition is intended to inspire good trainers to become involved in transitioning these horses to second careers. And the National Symposium serves to educate the people involved in the care, training, and sale of these horses to responsible owners. It's the only national gathering of the organization's trainers and farms dedicated to serving these horses when they retire from racing.
So welcome, Lauren. We are so excited to have you joining us today and taking us along for the ride as you train your OTTB for the makeover. And so for those just joining us and maybe haven't gotten a chance to catch up with episode 14 yet, can you give us a little bit of an introduction about you, your location, and your background?
Sure. Thank you guys so much for having me. I am located right on the Mason-Dixon line. So I basically can look out my backyard and see Maryland from my Pennsylvania residence. And I'm a Maryland girl at heart. I grew up in Baltimore City. I lived literally a block and a half from Pimlico Racetrack on Northern Parkway. And I grew up watching morning workouts on my way to school. So we talked a little bit about this in our intro episode. I literally grew up as a girl who loved horses, and I, from my urban environment, could see them every single day. I was very fortunate that I started riding when I was 7 because my mom got sick of hearing me every day say, I want a pony, I want a pony, I want a pony, I want a pony. And so I was obsessed from early on. And I have ridden dressage almost exclusively. I jump the most reluctantly of anybody. You've like closed eyes, hands in the mane, just waiting for it to be over. I hate it. But my first horse loves it. So we do it occasionally just to keep him happy. Other than that, as long as we jump once in a while, he's happy to go in a lot of tiny circles for me. So we do those things as a balance. But yeah, my horse is in Maryland with my trainer and she's in Westminster.
And who do you train with?
I train with Sabrina Morris, but Sabrina is an eventer from jump. She was a pony club kid. She did games with her pony club. She competed on the national level. She's been to the old school advanced level in eventing. So I use her for her dressage arena, and I have figured out how to do 20-meter circles in a short arena. Blows my mind every time. I'm like, I need another 15, 20 feet down here, guys. But what's great about Sabrina's facility is that she brings in clinicians for us all the time. And so we get dressage riders, we get Sally Cousins to come, and Sabrina's a body worker. So we've got, somebody who will do sports massage right there in the barn.
That's really cool.
Really nice facility, very quiet, northern Westminster, not a lot else going on in the area. We're at the end of a very long driveway, so there's plenty of room to go hack out, not see another person at all. We've got a steeplechase trainer like right across the lane. It's pretty great. It's a really great spot.
And Sabrina is such a strong personality. I think she's a hoot. So it seems like that's right up your alley.
And truly, we have to blame her for me being involved in the RRP at all, right? She's hoping to bring a horse this year that she rode at the track. I own one of her old makeover horses, her 2016 makeover horse. Smash and Grab is my first horse. And now she sort of, I jokingly, like in the middle of the barn aisle was like, hey, maybe I should get an RRP horse this year. And then she just enabled that straight through to bringing the mare into the barn. So blame her. This is all her fault.
Thank you, Sabrina. We appreciate you.
She's so easy. Like she reads horses really, really well. She looked at the videos with me. She's actually who suggested the horse off of her photos and her recommendation. We went and met her. She, basically said, it's your decision, you choose, but this is what I think. And I agree. And so she's so confident. She's done so many off the track thoroughbreds. She's transitioned so many horses. Thoroughbreds are really her thing. She galloped and assistant trained at the tracks in Maryland for years. So I sort of have a great resource to trust. So if she thinks that this is the right horse, then this is the right horse. And it turns out she's 100% right.
I would love to pick Sabrina's brain sometime. Maybe we can have her on with you one time. I just wonder, she's just probably seen so many thoroughbreds and having that in-person experience of galloping at the track and working with the trainers and all of that. I'd love to know how she chooses horses. If it's primarily conformation, is it pedigree, is it temperament? I think that would be a very interesting episode.
Oh yeah, she would love that. And truly, I think that her answer will test me. We'll see how accurate I am. I think her answer would be some sort of combination of bloodline, whose barn they came out of, what kind of training. She'll look at their race history. She'll look at their workouts. She'll look at their trot videos. But one of the things that she's so great at is because she's a body worker and because she did massage and because she rode at the track and because she's evented, she can look at a horse and go, oh, well, their angles are just off and we'll work through that. Or they're just body sore and we'll just fix that. And, there's so much about her skill set that makes almost any horse redeemable and a great companion that she sees potential, I think, where other people probably miss it because there's so much that she can do. But I think she would enjoy coming on. And
you miss out on some really good quality horses by just sort of making a judgment call on a 10-second video. And like you say, when you look back at the race record or things like that, you can start to ascertain like, well, it just ran a few days ago. It's been raining. The horse hasn't been out of its stall at all. All of those types of things. Emily really, and we still to this day, Emily and I send each other videos and confirmation pictures of horses.
We're horse shopping.
But it just hones your eye and you learn what to look for, what is good about this horse, what could maybe be changed. And listen, there are things that you look at and you go, that's a hard pass for me. But there's a lot where you just go, oh, let me zoom in on that. Oh, yeah, that's not a big issue. I
was going to say, not to lead us down a giant rabbit hole, but it immediately made me think of people that start vetting a million horses and pass them up for reasons that they need a perfect vetting, right? But there's so many things that can be fixed, or maybe will never bother the horse if you're realistic about what you're actually going to do with it, which I'm sure we could talk about forever.
I was going to say, we could do a whole episode on that.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So let's talk a little bit about your mare. She's a chestnut war horse.
She is.
And she's very tall, right?
Yes. So we sticked her the other day right after she got her feet done at 17.1.
Ooh. Oh my goodness. And you're not tall.
No, I'm 5'2".
You're like my height, I think. Okay, no, you're shorter than I am, yeah.
I am shorter than most humans. And I'm mostly torso. I end up punching holes in every set of leathers I've ever bought my entire adult life ever. I bought pony jump stirrup leathers and had to punch holes in those. Like child size. It's embarrassing. Yeah, she's a big girl. And again, we have to blame Sabrina for this. Smash and Grab is 17 to 3. We're not going to stick him. I don't need to know. He's huge. And she said, just give him a chance. I think you guys will like each other. And my feet barely come off of my saddle pad. I mean, it's, but if we can teach him to stand quietly at the world's tallest mounting block, or if I can climb onto, the top of a fence and I can get up there, I'm pretty sticky once I'm up there. So she's a big girl, and everyone that's met her who doesn't know her yet thinks she's a warm blood. She's just big, wide, big boned, big feet. Yeah, she's a chunk.
And what's her jockey club name again?
Tizbit.
Tizbit. Okay.
She's
we have a lot of
now granddaughter. Yeah. Well, and I'm here in Kentucky right now, and I was trying to figure out how I can get onto WinStar to go meet Tiz now and be like, I have a granddaughter. We'll see if I work that out. I'll let you know. But
that would be cool.
She's a very cool mare. And I've never owned a mare before in my entire life. It's always been geldings. I've ridden plenty, but I've never had one that was my own. And I probably would not have picked a chestnut mare out of a lineup based on reputation alone. I am a little bit of a force of nature myself. I don't think that that's probably a great conducive relationship, but we went, we met her, we talked to somebody that Sabrina really trusts over at Charlestown, which is where she came out of. The girl that had recommended her put her up online and said, look, if I hadn't already picked my RRP horse for the year, this would have been it. I was waiting for her to retire, and she ran longer than I thought she would. So I went ahead and made a selection. So her horse was already at home doing letdown. And she just said, look, she's amazing. I've worked with her from the veterinary side of things. She's a solid citizen. She's sweet. She's a little bit of a princess, but she's a good, solid horse, incredibly sound. And Sabrina has another horse that she got through this girl, Eliza, who is also just a solid, like the calmest red mare, also out of Charlestown, a Curlin granddaughter in this case.
Yeah.
Just the best little girls. And so Sabrina said, let's look at her videos and let's see. We watched her trot up, and she trots incredibly sound. And the first thing I did was listen, right? I didn't watch the videos. I listened to the footfall. And Charlestown is very strict. You can't run them on the backside. You can't ride. You can't do anything basically except look at them in their stall.
Yeah.
But she was so sweet. We walked in, we met her trainer. Her trainer's family is very involved. So his 11-year-old son was her groom and has this huge bond with her. She adores him. They're best friends. He wept when we went to pick her up.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So sweet. And the trainer's mom is also involved. And so she also cried when we went to go get her. Yeah, she's just a kind, sweet, sensible mare. Now, again, Sabrina's got a whole bunch of thoroughbreds off the track on the farm. And Tiz is the biggest mare in the field. And nothing upsets her. She just sort of uses her body weight as a defense mechanism. She's a bit of a tank. Like, she'll stand at the fence and make sure that she gets to walk sensibly through the fence and everybody else needs to wait a second. You know, the little horses, there's a small, really small mare that's off the track who's a little spicy. There's a 2-year-old who's turned out with them out of one of Sabrina's homebred mares who went up through training and advanced with her, who's also very spicy and opinionated. And they just try to run at Tiz, and she just stands there and lets them bounce off of her. Like, she's just unflappable when it comes to other horses.
I love it. And she raced 100 times or about 100 times?
She raced, I think, 43 times.
Okay. But I think you said that she raced so consistently.
It was unbelievable. So I went and I looked, and she basically got to the track when she was 2 and ran once a month for the next year and a half, 2 years. Yeah. She's never had a break. She's never been off the track. Some months she ran twice. I think it's a total of 43 starts, but I'll have to double check that. So I think technically, I think Warhorse is 50. We're just shy. She won in August of last year, and her last race was December 8th, and she came home 10 days later. Yeah. So we met her, I think, 3 days after her last race. And she, stood in her stall and wanted to be loved on, and, was eating her alfalfa and making faces at everybody to get lovin's. I mean, she's amazing.
I love it. That's awesome.
I think all told her winnings are over 250,000. I think she did pretty well for herself at Charlestown, which is not a big purse track, but she ran so consistently.
So tell us a little bit about when you got her home and how you kind of started working with her.
Sure. So she came home so shortly after her last race, right? And I think I may have mentioned this just in passing to Neve when we were at the William Fox Pit Clinic. We went to go pick her up, and when we pulled into Charlestown to load her onto the trailer, the wheel fell off of the trailer. No joke. In the parking lot, we pulled through the security gate. We said hi to the security guard. We get all the paperwork. And as we turn the corner, we hear this ka-chink, ka-chink,
oh my
ka-chink,
goodness.
and we look, and 3 of the bolts have sheared off. And
that's an omen.
It really was. I was like, this is clearly not the day. So we met her, and then we turned around and took the wheel off of the trailer and limped home.
Oh, wow.
It's a 3-horse slant load, so it's dual axle. So we limped home on 3 tires back to Maryland, and then paid a shipper to bring her to us a couple of days later. So she loaded apparently beautifully. She trailered beautifully, but she's not really trailered out of Charlestown before.
Right.
She's raced a couple of times at a different track, I think once or twice, but it's been over a year. So she doesn't have a lot of trailering experience. So getting her to the farm was spicy. She pulled a shoe in the trailer. She got off the trailer screaming. And I thought, oh my God, I've made a huge mistake. But again, I have Sabrina, the guy that trailered her over for us, does a lot of racehorse transport. So he was unflapped by the whole thing. He's like, yeah, whatever, just show me what stall. Like,
I love those guys. They get off the trailer and they're usually with just a regular lead rope, and they've just got this kite flying next to them, and they're just like, tell me where she goes. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, literally, he was just like, whatever, you just say the word.
You're like, what have I done?
And my husband was there, and he rides, and he was messing around in her stall, fluffing hay and getting it all nice. And I was like, get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
You're going to get killed.
Move. Yeah, but she went in, and once she figured out that this is an environment that looks vaguely familiar to her, 15, 20 minutes later, she was completely calm. Munching her hay, looking around, meeting the neighbors. We both went into the stall. Sabrina went into the stall. Everybody was a friend immediately, which was great. I was like, oh God, we have not made a mistake. Thank goodness. So she had a rough first couple of days because she literally had not had any turnout. She had had no time off the track. She'd basically, 10 days ago had her last race and then had worked a couple of days afterwards. They don't really have even round pens at Charlestown. She literally hadn't been out of the stall in days. So we gave her a couple of days to calm down. And then we gave her a couple of hours of turnout before dinner. And then we gave her a couple more hours of turnout in the afternoon before dinner. And then we gave her a whole day out by herself. And we really progressed very slowly because, again, she was 2 when she got to the track. She hadn't had any friends, right? Charlestown is on concrete walls. There's nobody that she can touch. She's not been around. And I just didn't know who she'd ever been socialized with, what kind of socialization she'd ever had. Having a herd for my horses is incredibly important to me. They are meant to be social creatures. They can't get good REM sleep without being able to lay down with somebody to watch over them. They really need that environment. I think. Absolutely. And so we really moved as quickly as we felt like we could to get her somebody that she could be near. So it was probably 2, 3, 4 days later, we finally got her a neighbor she could touch over the fence. And it was another little off the track. I think he was 3 or 4 who was there for layup. And he was incredibly kind to her over the fence. And she just wanted to touch him. She just didn't know what to do with herself. And every time he moved, she moved. And they walked back and forth up and down the fence together. And it was really, really cute. And then we got her turned out next to a mare. And then we got her turned out with a mare. And then we got her turned out with a number of mares. And now they're back in what Sabrina calls Narnia. You have to walk like under this mulberry tree that's hanging over so you literally look like you're like walking into a, cherry orchard. So you walk down under this branch and then there's just this huge grass paddock with a stream and, it's beautiful back there. So she's turned out back there with the rest of the mares on the farm. So there's 4 plus her, 5 total. At various times over the last 2 months, she's been turned out with each of them either individually or in small groups. This is the first time that we've got enough grass and enough resources for them to go have the whole thing together. We rested that field for quite a while, and now it's, up to the knee and go eat it. So they're out there together during the day, and she's still coming in at night. And, she is, as I said, the most sensible one in the field. Truly. She just doesn't care about anybody's antics. She does really like her friends, and she will, if they scream, if she gets, turned out first or she gets turned out last, there will be some vocalizing for, oh my God, you guys left me. But she pulls herself together and she can still go to work and she can still lunge. And if I'm having a late day or whatever, and I get there after feeding time and she's meant to stay in, as long as she's got hay, she's happy.
That's good. I feel like sometimes they get their friends and they're like, ooh, I have friends. And then you can't get them away from their friends or there's drama.
Yes. Oh, yes. Well, and of course, I don't know that she was stabled next to a stallion just because her trainer has a stallion that he runs quite frequently and is a big winner for him. And so I don't know what her heat cycles have been like in the past.
Right.
But you get enough mares together and it's just chaos. Everybody's squirting on everybody else and then we're all running amok and we all have a lot of feelings. And, you know, one of the mares in the field is on regimate because otherwise she'll murder everyone. But everybody else is just left natural and gets to do their own thing. And so it has been a lot of trying to figure out what's everybody's behaviors around being in season and, you know, how do we feel and do we need to intervene? And so, yeah, it's been a lot of that the last couple of weeks, especially just as everybody's cycles start to roll. I'm like, oh, now you're mad. Okay, now you're mad. All right, now you're mad. But even then, you know, her heat cycle was very reasonable. Other than kicking the stall wall next to the big import gelding next to her who makes ugly faces at dinner time, she's been very polite to everybody. So, yeah.
Well, she sounds really awesome. Tell us a little bit about what she was like when you first started riding her and maybe just give us some insight into how you and Sabrina planned on bringing her along.
So ideally, I would have had Sabrina get on her first, but Sabrina injured herself. And so I just had to bite the bullet and do it. She has been, the first ride was very emotional, right? I was very nervous. She was very upset. We really planned it badly. It was stupid primate error, right? I'm the one with the thumbs and the frontal cortex, and I really planned it badly. We did it after feeding time when everyone else had been turned out.
Right.
Oh, no.
And I just didn't think it through. But I was like, we have to just do it. We have to do it. And so then we did. And it was about 7.5 minutes of walking around the arena, screaming at the top of her lungs for her friends outside. And, you know, couldn't get her to bring her head down, couldn't get her to think, couldn't get her to breathe.
I rode a very strong-willed mare years ago when I got back into riding, and she was the leader of the herd with the mares that she went with. And I would ride her in this indoor because it was so hard to deal with her when you would take her out of the paddock. And so it just was safer and self-preservation to be in the indoor. But she would scream and they would scream back. And then she would scream so loud that her whole body would shake. And I felt like I was going to fall off just from the vibration of her bellowing at them. And I would be like, shut up, stop screaming for her.
Yeah, I am familiar with that sensation now. Only recently, but now I know what that feels like. Yeah, so she literally couldn't breathe, snorting, you know, dancing sideways, trantering around. It was not pretty or particularly positive for either of us.
Now,
quite frankly.
Had you done any preparation work, groundwork, lunging, anything like that prior to your rash decision to climb on her when you did?
Yes. No, it was not just straight out of the tank into the saddle. We did a lot of lunging. We did a lot of groundwork. We did a lot of just bonding time, right? I just spent a lot of time getting to know her, her personality, hanging out with her, taking walks, getting to know the farm, looking around. I needed to add some money to the checking account, right? I needed to sort of get her interested in me because minute 3.5 of arriving at the farm, she fell head over heels in love with my husband.
Oh, that's right. I remember you telling me that.
And she thinks that he is the greatest thing that has ever happened. And she has eyes only for him. And if I'm there, I'm chopped liver. And if I'm the one holding the end of the lunge line, you know, she could care less what I think or what my opinions are if he's within earshot, like if he's on the property. Yeah. So we did a lot of just, hey, look, good stuff happens when I'm around. We do lots of grooming and lots of hand grazing and lots of walking around and lots of exploring stuff and playing games and just getting her sort of bought into me. So I really worked on our relationship quite a bit before I jumped in the saddle, and then have really spent a lot of time trying to keep it positive since then. So we got on, we did just enough walking around for us to all feel like we had done something. I got off, I untacked her, I put her back out with her friends and made a mental note to not set myself up for failure like that the next time.
Right.
So Sabrina would have gotten on and done a couple of other rides for us just because that transition from what they know about race training and what they need to know about working in a snaffle in a real saddle with a person who wants to sit up on their seat bones, there's a lot in between there. We didn't get that luxury because Sabrina hurt herself. And so I've had someone, Meredith is her name. She's at the farm. She's worked with Sabrina for a really long time. I've had her get on and do a couple of rides. She's just calm, which is exactly what we needed. Right? Yeah. She's just like, whatever, we're going to just trot. I don't care how you feel. Go. Because she's not invested, right, in the same way that I am in this mare liking me and us having a positive experience. Right. It's like, no, you have a job to do. Go do your job. Right. And I'm like, but does she like me? Right. Like much more emotional about it. Yeah. So Meredith has ridden her a couple of times, and I've now gotten back in the saddle and had a couple of really nice positive rides. Again, we're not doing much. Neither of us has a lot of, well, I have plenty of stamina, but she doesn't have a lot of stamina, and I hold my breath the whole time I'm on her. So I'm also trying not to pass out. Yeah. But we're getting much closer to feel like I could put my dressage saddle on her and we could go do some bending exercises. The other two things that really made a huge difference for her was having her teeth done. Mm-hmm. We got her teeth done. Old racehorse trainer, Dave Butts, longtime dentist, old school hand tools, got in her mouth and was like, oh, there's like a million hooks in here. Like, no wonder she can't close her mouth and put her head down. We're going to chop all of these off. And I was like, great, do it. Let's get her right. The other thing that really has made a big difference is we've added some supplements for her. So she came off the track in phenomenal condition, but with a real baby coat and no real winter, fat on her body. And so we've been trying to sort of get the right balance of everything to get her enough muscle and enough fat and enough supplements to sort of balance everything out. And winter is tough with hay and not having enough vitamin E. So we've got her on vitamin E and mag, and that has really helped everything, with two exceptions. It has not helped the rain rot, which her immune system, just having come off of the track, was non-existent, essentially. Yeah. She has lived in a sterile environment where she gets washed every single time she leaves the stall. And so her feet have been phenomenal. I have to say, like, knock on wood, she's had one abscess. We've just resolved it. That's great. Other than that, she's been good, even with all of the mud and the nonsense. We haven't lost any shoes. Again, knock on wood. We've been very lucky that way. But her body immune system just sort of exploded the second she came in contact with acid rain and some fungus. And so she's very bald right now. Very bald. Like, so bald that I'm putting sunscreen on my chestnut mare because I don't want her to get skin cancer on her little butt. I mean, she's bald. And the girls at the barn, we've got this beautiful long lane that's got cherry trees on either side, and they just explode, and the foliage is gorgeous, and the pictures are obviously phenomenal. And everybody's like, let's get a photographer in and take pictures of us and our horses. And I was like, hey, we're going to have to pass.
I'll come do it.
Right? We get you to come out. But I was like, I'm going to have to pass this year. My horse looks awful. She looks truly bad right now.
I don't know if you've tried this. It's pretty miraculous stuff. It's for humans, and it's called Super BB Cream. It comes in like a little container. It's green. It smells really nice. It smells like coconut oil. And it will help grow hair back magically.
Oh my God.
I have a chestnut as well, and he has very, very fine, dense hair. And he tends to lose it in weird ways. And when he sheds out, it almost comes out as lumps. And you just put it on and the hair grows back. It's amazing. I had a horse that had like a huge hoof boil by the girth, and it was like raw and pussy and gross. And as soon as I got that to heal, I just slathered this stuff on, hair grew back. It's miraculous.
Awesome. Yeah, I need something. She looks so sad right now. I haven't told her that she looks sad because she would take that very much to heart. She still thinks she's a beautiful princess and everything is perfect and she's the most magical thing that's ever happened. And so we're going to just keep her thinking that. But the spa treatments every couple of days have been pretty intense to make sure that she doesn't, A, get sunburn, and B, that she is as defunkified as possible.
Are you sure this is your first mare? It sounds like you're a mare owner at heart.
So I'm really not, but what I am is incredibly observant, right? I've got a master's in behavior and I really watch my horses very, very closely. And so a lot of that time that I put into the groundwork and the hand walking and the exploring the farm and the playing games is so that I can sort of learn where her easy stuff is and where her difficult stuff is. She thinks she's amazing. And I'm never going to disabuse her of that notion, right? She's very self-confident. She feels really comfortable in her own skin, even when it's bare. And so truly, I don't want to change that perception for her. She is great. She takes many, many things in stride, except being separated from her besties. But truly, like I have watched very closely who she is and what she's into and the things that she takes that are valuable and the things that she doesn't care about, right? The things that don't matter to her, are not valuable, don't make any difference. Her image, her opinion of other horses, who she thinks is funny, who she thinks is a jerk. I take all of that stuff into the observations that we've spent a lot of time building. And wanting her to really feel like, boy, I'm going to get a little emotional here. When a horse leaves an environment like the racetrack and they've been successful and they've done really great work and they move into an environment that they don't know anything about and they're not confident about, she came in feeling a little bit, I think she didn't know if she'd done something wrong, right? She came in a little bit beaten up and a little bit like, oh no, this is, what did I do? A little bit, put upon, not in a bad way. And I watched very closely that, and I've seen it in other horses. They come off the track and they're just confused. They're lost. They don't know what they're supposed to do with themselves. They thought they were very valuable and good at their job. And now they don't do that job anymore. And what happens next? And so there's a lot of uncertainty to sort of deal with. And, some horses, you don't want to encourage that ego, right? Some horses, you have no choice.
You can take them down a peg. Yeah,
exactly. Some horses, you're like, ooh, not as great as you think you are. And here's some things that you're not going to be good at. And let's talk about how we can work together instead of you dictating everything. But truly, she needed a little bit of hand-holding and she needed a little bit of encouragement to start out with. And so we've just learned each other. And truly, I trust her. I mean, for having not known her very long, treating her abscess, I had no qualms that she was going to stand in a boot with Epsom salt. I knew she would. We'd never done it. I'd never asked her to. She doesn't love picking up her feet for me. Fine, I don't care. But and really, it's not that she doesn't want to pick up her feet. She doesn't understand picking up her feet like a dressage horse. She understands picking up her feet like a racehorse. And luckily, I know enough to be like, I'm going to go to the other side and pick up both feet from that side.
Right, yeah.
But with the boot, I was like, there's no question. She's going to stand in the wash rack with her foot in a boot and be a lady about it. And there will be no question. And my husband was like, are you sure? We don't need stuff. And I was like, no, she's classy. She's going to handle it. She'll be fine.
Yeah. She probably feels like she's getting pampered, even though like you're treating something that's probably painful and uncomfortable for her. She's like, this is just another phase of me being pampered. I love it.
Correct. No, it's all spa treatments as far as this goes. Like she just, everything is about the attention that she gets. She loves the farrier because he's just focused on her. She's a bit of a diva in a really good way.
That's really cute.
Yeah.
So what are your next steps with her in terms of the next month or two?
So we're going to try to get a ride in every other day and keep playing the groundwork game. And we'll try some long lining, which will be the first time for her. I don't love jumping into that right away just because it's such a powerful tool. I don't want to accidentally flip a horse over. There's too much for them when they're unbalanced. And also I don't want to get my face kicked in.
Yeah.
Call me crazy. I want to know that that's a safe thing for us to do, for me to follow my horse around. But we'll do some long lining. We are set on her saddle. Her saddle fits her beautifully. She's in a hoop tree wide, which is crazy. She's a big girl, but we're still going to keep playing with bits. We're going to see if we can find something that she really loves, that she's really happy to work with. Right now, she's in a Hermspringer KK Select or Ultra, just a regular French link with a lozenge. It's non-offensive. She doesn't mind it. I just want to make sure she's got everything that she needs. Now that her teeth feel better, she's in great shape. And then we're going to try to get off the property probably towards the end of the next 30 days. Get her out, go school somewhere. No pressure, no show, no nothing. Just let's trail her over to a friend's farm and ride in a different arena. Or let's
new place.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go spend the day standing in a stall at a different farm and then go into the arena and walk around. Again, low pressure. I want to see what she wants to do. If she can handle a ride off property, then we'll do a ride. If she can't, we'll just go and walk.
Go explore,
Yeah.
I just listening to you talking about the way that you've approached everything with her, I feel like you should write like a handbook for first time off the track people, because it's just word for word. If somebody asks me how to go about the process, I think that there's always this internal and outside pressure to be doing more, faster, quicker, progressing. And I think that when you can take the time and break things down and be really thoughtful about it, you end up with a much happier partner in the end. And sometimes training looks like maybe you walk, trot, canter the horse the first couple rides, and then you go, I got to get back to basics with this horse, and I'm just going to do groundwork for a month. And I just think that there's this strong pressure to just be doing it all already. And a lot of them are just not ready for it.
Yeah.
I really love how you broke down that you just saw in her this feeling of being deflated by leaving the track and saying like, okay, well, it's unfair to her to make her do anything except for how do we make her feel good about life again?
Yeah, no, thank you. That's a huge compliment. And truly, I am guided by experts, right? I have great examples of people who have done this work before me. I have a lot of research. I have great clinicians. I have a huge army of people whose shoulders I get to stand on. So I really feel for the people that are out there doing this without the army of experts that I have. Yeah. I'm incredibly lucky.
I mean, it's honestly one of the reasons that we started the podcast is we had this group and it had thousands of members in it. And a lot of the same questions would come up over and over again. And we were like, what if we just created a podcast so that people felt some solidarity in their lives? And also that there were some resources of varying opinions. Because the thing is about off the track thoroughbreds and retraining them is that there's just no tried and true formula that's one size fits all. And I really like the fact that like we're showing all of these different sides to the industry and the aftercare. And I hope that somebody can hear our podcast and go, that's the same thing I'm going through. Oh my gosh, you know?
Yeah, no, I think you guys are providing an amazing resource. I've gone back, I've listened to every episode. I think there's so much value in what you guys are presenting. And I think that for people that are out there, either with trainers who don't have the experience of bringing a horse off the track or who are out there going it on their own, I mean, that's an amazingly brave thing to do. And it is a truly heroic effort, right? To take these horses and try to get them a positive transition into the next thing. Sometimes with injury, sometimes with personality. That's a tough thing.
It really is.
I got very, very lucky. I recognize that that's a one-time shot. I'm not going to be that parent that has a second kid because the first kid made me think that this was going to be so easy. I may never, ever do this again. She's really spoiled me, and I think she'll probably stay. I picked her up sort of thinking like, oh, well, maybe she'll be a little resale project, and that'll be fun for me. And no, she has to stay, and mostly because
I don't think your husband's going to let you sell her.
No, Matt's going to make her stay forever. They would be heartbroken if I separated them. He hasn't been allowed to ride her yet, and I'm trying to sort of think about when we let that happen, he said to me before I ever got on her, "Oh no, I could just hop up there. She'll totally take care of me." And I was like, "Well, that's nice for you,
would.
but that's exactly, yeah, no, for sure she would. But I'm the one that has to take her to Kentucky." So
you're like, I have to ride
do a
her.
makeover, you do it. But this is my project.
No, you are at Kentucky right now, right? And
I am.
are at the Kentucky Horse
pulled
Park
in this afternoon.
Is that putting any extra butterflies in your stomach about kind of taking her there in a few months?
1,000%. Yeah, I have never been down to the horse park before. This is my first time. I'm down here working. I'm a saddler and a saddle fitter when I'm not riding and running around the country. And so two of my brands are here with vendor spaces. And so I'm down here to help them. It's my first time being down here for the 3-day, despite having been a fan of eventing for a million years. I've gone to Fair Hill every year my entire life. I've been at the Maryland 5-star. I've gone everywhere I can think of to go, but this is my first time down here. And driving through the park today is an intimidating, just from the standpoint of like, I'm going to have to get from that barn over there to those rings over there. And I have to like cross some roads and be around a million cars and a lot of horses. And I'm like, ooh, we need different outings than I had thought about. We really are going to need to like go to some shows. Even if she doesn't compete, we are really going to need to go and do some stuff in order for this to be not a big deal when she gets down here. Racehorses are amazing because they're so good with environment, right? They're like, well, I'm used to busy. Busy's great. Busy's normal. I like watching the action, which is fantastic. But I am not used to the action, and I am not used to, I think we started off with me describing how quiet and in the middle of nowhere our farm is, right? So there's not a lot of traffic. It is. And so we are really in the middle of nowhere, and we're going to have to get ourselves acclimated to that environment, and taking her from the track to not that environment and putting her back in that environment. I also don't want to throw her off her game so much that she's like, wait, am I in trouble again? Like, did I screw up a second time?
Her mind.
Exactly. I really am going to have to do some different prep work, having now seen the park and how big everything is and how far away everything is. Yeah, we're going to have to do a little bit of a different stepwise move from here forward to get to the point where we can both show up here and not pee our pants and or throw up while we're trying to get to the
Sounds like
arena.
me all of the time.
Well, at least you got a little sneak peek by getting down there, and maybe it's a little bit busier. I'm not quite sure for for Defender Kentucky 3-day event.
Correct.
But yeah, there's definitely a lot to see and a lot going on there. But it sounds like you're taking all the appropriate steps to give her the best foundation, at least.
I'm going to try. We are definitely going to try. Luckily, we're in Area 2 for the Avengers of the World.
So
there's a million... Always something going on. I mean, even recognized dressage shows on a Wednesday. I could go do a million things between now and October, provided that we stay in good condition and we grow some hair back. Because I'm not taking a bald horse to a show.
Right.
I think that sometimes, too, when they're a little bit insecure and you've spent all that time with them on the ground and bonding with them, that when you take them to a new location, they tend to lean on you pretty heavily. So I think all the foundation work that you've done with her, I'm really hoping pays off for when you take her to a new location. And she's like, well, I've got you here and I trust you. So this should be okay.
And I really do hope that that is what happens, right? That's why we do all of this foundational work. It's why we pay so heavily into that checking account, so that when I have to draw on it, when I have to say, hey, this is an unpleasant thing, or hey, this is a tough thing, I've got the balance in that checking account to draw off of. I'm not going into the negative. We're not changing the way she feels about me. The issue is that horses are an empathic diode, which means that if my heart rate goes up and I get nervous, their heart rate goes up and they get nervous. Right. And there was this amazing experiment that was done, I think it was in the Netherlands, where they literally told the handler, I want you to walk this horse down this aisle, and when you get past that stack of hay bales, someone's going to jump out from behind it and open an umbrella at you and the horse. Obviously, they didn't tell the horse that, right? And then they put a cardiac monitor on the horse, they walk the horse down the aisle, and that person starts to anticipate that the umbrella is going to leap out from behind the stack of hay bales. It doesn't actually happen, right? Nobody leaps out from behind the hay bales and there is no umbrella. but the person's heart rate goes up and they watch the horse's heart rate go up.
Oh, wow.
And so
that's fascinating.
Isn't that cool? But if I'm nervous, she's going to be nervous. And so I'm not sure about the environment. So I'm going to have to get really comfortable down here so that I can be a rock for her. Because that is truly what I would like her to do, is rely on me. Because I think that that's the right answer, right? But the huge wuss that I am, really would rather have a horse that I could lean on who is like, no, I love this. This is great. And I can just be like, okay, well, I'm nervous and I don't love it. But we'll get through it. Either way.
I bet just getting to see the lay of the land at Kentucky takes that one element out of the thought process, which is that you've seen it now. So it's not like you're going in and having never seen the horse park. At least you can go feel some of those nerves now and know that next time you go there, it's going to feel slightly more familiar.
Yeah, no, that'll be a huge help for both of us. And again, I'll have my experts. I will have my friends. And I think that there's a lot of sort of community around the makeover. At least that's what I've seen so far. And so hopefully if I need to be talked off of a ledge or
you won't be the only one.
Exactly. That someone will be there and be like, look, she's fine. Everything's fine. You're fine. Which is probably what I will need. Let's hope I don't need to be slapped, but I will let people stand in line if we get to that point. I'm sure there will be takers.
Well, now I'm definitely going to come
too.
down if I get to slap.
Please do. Absolutely. Yeah, if I need it, I will definitely ask.
Just because you mentioned all of the behavioral stuff, I just got a book that was recommended to me by Carolyn McIntosh from Lockmoy. It's called Horse Brain, Human Brain. Have you read that book?
I have.
Yeah.
I have
feedback about it.
So it's been years and years since I read it. I read it when I think it first came out in like 2010, I want to say. It's an older manual. I think that there's a lot in there that's very good, but we are constantly doing research, right? We are constantly getting better data, right? We have a lot of anecdotes. We have a lot of opinions. We have a lot of learned lessons, but true research, we're still pretty new to. New Bolton has some very cool things that they've done over the years. I'm sure you guys are familiar with some of the things that have happened at the University of North Texas, whether you know them to be the research out of those places or not. Those places are truly investing in their students' educations through actual documentable research. And it's not just about nutrition, and it's not just about supplementation. It's really truly about like how the equine brain functions. Yeah. So I think that there's some really great information in that book, and it's a really good jumping off point. There is even better stuff that, and unfortunately, none of it is compiled into a book because it's all still being presented as research. The place that I would recommend you guys go to sort of check that stuff out is the International Society of Equitation Science. It's been around for a really long time, but every year they get together some of the best researchers in the world to present their findings and their papers. And it's everything from, can we create a feeding environment inside that dispenses hay or forage for them at specific intervals during the day to cut down on ulcers? Can we get tech fabrics involved in saddle manufacture so that we can actually get appropriate pressure readings? Can we get new girth technology so that we can monitor a horse's heart rate and respirations while they're running cross country or doing endurance? So there's all kinds of very cool stuff being researched and developed, and that would be a great place to go look for that kind of stuff. That's actually where I heard about it. This is a hard science, right? Psychology is a hard science. We're talking about the chemicals of the brain. We're talking about the way that those chemicals manifest in behavior, but truly we're talking about neurology. And so it is a very cool area of study, and there's so much to learn and there's so much to know. And, you know, even New Bolton and Virginia Tech are putting out requests like, hey, we would like to know what the public would like to see us research next. What do you guys need to know? And so there are opportunities every couple of years to put your hat in the ring and be like, I really want to know about X. Please do some research, put some money towards, send your students to look at, and then we know more, and then we can do better. And that's truly what it's all about.
That's super interesting. Cool. Yeah. I didn't know New Bolton was doing studies like that. I guess that makes sense.
So New Bolton has a feral Shetland pony herd, like a managed feral herd with multiple stallions and multiple gangs of brood mares, and they basically use them to study equine ethology, which is the baseline equine behaviors, right? And Dr. Sue McConnell has done incredible research and really does amazing stuff with what the equid ethogram looks like. And she's published a book. It's very hard to find it. It's out of print. But if you ever wanted to know sort of what's normal horse behavior, she has it documented, and it both with illustrations and photography. And so you can see this rearing thing and this spinning thing and this kicking thing and these ears and this face and this everything. You know, that is where all of that stuff gets cataloged. And if you really want to know how much we ask horses to do that are outside of their normal scope of behavior, that's the place to go start, right? We expect that they're going to put their head down and walk forward and be calm and ignore and do. And it's a big ask. It's truly a big ask.
Especially at the Kentucky Horse Park.
I think everything that we ask them to do is the opposite of what they would really rather be doing a lot of the times. And I'm always just amazed that they do anything for us, you know? So, well, listen, Lauren, 100%. I don't want this to go too long in the tooth, but we knew that when Emily and I were chatting before you connected with us, and she was like, she sounds really charismatic. And I was like, you're going to love talking to her. Because you're funny and you're interesting, and you just have a really cool viewpoint that I think is very special. And I'm so excited that we're collaborating with you. So
absolutely.
Thank you so much, ladies. It really is my honor.
All right,
Emily, you want to do the
yes. First
conclusion?
of all, Lauren, do you want to remind us where listeners can follow along your journey on Facebook and Instagram?
Sure. We are Tizbit, Tizbit, Journey to the 2024 RRP Makeover. All of her adventures get posted there. No pictures of the bald horse presently. She still looks great in all of her photographs on there. That's the best place to find us. And we are both that on Facebook and Instagram.
Great. Okay. All right. Well, Lauren, thank you for joining us again. And to our listeners, if you liked what you heard today, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. In addition to following Lauren on social media, you can check out OTTBOnTap.com for a centralized page to follow along her journey to the RRP Makeover. You can also find us on Instagram at OTTB_on_tap, or look for OTTB on tap on Facebook and TikTok, and reach out to us with interview candidates and topics, suggestions, and etc. on our website, OTTBOnTap.com. We love hearing from you.